The following conversation never actually happened. It is a work of creative fiction featuring AI-generated voices. Please enjoy it as a thought experiment, not as a factual historical account.
This is the Time Capsule Lounge.
Oh, remarkable! The graphite in this pencil flows like water, yet holds its form. And these papers so perfectly uniform.
You've been studying that writing tool for quite some time now. One might think you'd never seen a pencil before.
Well, in my time we didn't have such precision in our tools. Though I suspect you used something quite different yourself. A stylus on wax tablets, wasn't it?
Indeed. Though I preferred the spoken word, I always felt that writing was a poor substitute for true dialogue. Oh, what are those?
Let me have a look. Oh, the precision of these letters. Like my mechanical studies brought to perfection.
These cards appeared from nowhere, yet neither of us seems particularly surprised. Should we question this?
Well, I believe we will have enough questions to care about already.
So be it, Leonardo. Enlighten me, then. What secrets does the card hold?
Right. It seems our host wishes us to begin properly. Very well. Hello, I am Leonardo da Vinci, though I find it curious to introduce myself to someone I've been conversing with already.
That's how the so-called podcasts work, it seems. My turn. Greetings, everyone. I am Socrates. Though I wonder, what truly defines us? Are you Leonardo da Vinci, the painter? The inventor? The anatomist?
Well, all and none of those, perhaps. Each label is merely a facet of understanding, isn't it? Like your own. Are you Socrates, the philosopher? The teacher? The gadfly of Athens?
Ha 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 ha! So my reputation for irritating the powerful has survived the centuries. Ah, the gadfly of Athens.
Perhaps we should explain this curious term to our dear modern listeners. You see, a gadfly is a rather persistent biting fly that torments horses and cattle. They simply cannot ignore it.
Indeed. And much like this bothersome insect, I made it my life's work to sting the great horse that was Athens with my endless questions. You modern folks might call me what's the term, Leonardo?
Perhaps a provocateur? Or simply a critic?
Yes, though I prefer gadfly. It captures both the persistence and the annoyance I cause quite perfectly.
Speaking of these fascinating creatures, during my studies of nature, I observed something remarkable about them. Did you know, Socrates, that the female gadfly has eyes with the most striking patterns, almost like a mosaic of jewels? And their bite, the precision with which they pierce flesh is truly a marvel of nature's design.
Is that so? You know, in the agora, I would often watch them trouble the horses. Those poor beasts would stamp and swish their tails in futile attempts to drive them away.
Yes, and there's good reason for their persistence, you know. The females need blood, not for themselves, mind you, but to nurture their eggs. Nature's curious cycle of life.
How fascinating. So like her, I too was persistent in my pursuit, though I sought to nurture not eggs, but ideas. Though I must say, Athens swatted at me with rather more severity than a horse's tail. Ha ha ha.
And yet, here you are, your ideas having survived far longer than any gadfly's offspring. Perhaps there's a lesson in that.
We can cheer to that, but as it seems, my questions are the ones who survive.
Yes, there are still many answers to be found. But what's truly fascinating is how some methods of seeking truth endure through the ages. Let's say your questioning approach, for instance. It has outlived empires and civilizations, though perhaps we've added some refinements.
Refinements to the pursuit of truth? Now that's a bold claim, my friend. Please elaborate. How can one improve upon the simple act of questioning? Is not truth eternal and unchanging?
But our methods of uncovering it need not be. For instance, in my studies, I discovered that questioning alone, while powerful, could be enhanced. I combined it with careful observation, systematic, methodical observation. Every detail drawn, every dissection performed, each measurement taken, these were all forms of questions asked directly to nature herself.
Nature herself? An interesting choice of words, Leonardo. In Athens, I focused on human nature, on virtue and wisdom. But you speak of nature as if she were a text to be read.
Is she not, Socrates? The world is written in the language of mathematics, patterns, and proportions. We must simply learn to read her signs.
Oh. What's this? It seems our host wishes to join our discourse.
As if on cue. And it comes with another card. Telescope, an optical instrument designed to make distant objects appear nearer. So that's what this modern device does. What remarkable craftsmanship. The precise ratios of the lenses, the careful balance.
Telescope, you say? Tele as far, scope as examine?
That is coherent. It magnifies distant objects.
Astounding. The pursuit of knowledge takes many forms, it seems. You with your instruments, me with my questions.
And sometimes the instrument itself becomes the question. Through this, we might see what lies beyond our immediate grasp.
But Leonardo, this raises an intriguing question. When we bring something closer, do we truly understand it better? If I magnify a shadow on my cave wall, does it become more real?
You reference famous cave allegory. But consider this. What if tools like these help us break free from the cave altogether? Think of the stars. We've studied them for centuries, yet with this device, we could see them anew. Each observation leads to fresh questions.
Like your studies of the human form?
Yes, precisely. When I first began dissecting bodies...
Wait, you dissected human bodies?
I did.
This I must hear more about.
Oh, well. Had to be in secret mostly. The church didn't approve. In fact, I had to work by candlelight in cold rooms, racing against both discovery and decay. But how else could we truly understand what lies beneath our skin? Each layer revealed new mysteries, new questions.
And these bodies, how did you acquire them? Surely not a simple task.
There lies another tale of seeking truth at any cost. For a while, I had arrangements with the administrators of the hospital of Santa Maria Nuova. They would alert me when a friendless soul passed, someone with no family to claim them.
A practical solution, if somewhat macabre.
There were other ways too. The gallows provided subjects occasionally, though those bodies were less than ideal. I'm not sure if it's in use nowadays, but basically it was a wooden structure used for hanging criminals. These bodies were often damaged, broken necks, bruised tissues, making them less suitable for detailed study.
Oh yes, hanging by rope, a harsh form of justice.
But the most challenging part wasn't acquiring them. It was keeping my work hidden. Once, I had to quickly wrap a body in cloth when an unexpected visitor arrived. I told them it was a sculpture study.
And the disposal of these subjects?
Oh, that required even more discretion. I had a trusted assistant who would help me return them to consecrated ground under cover of darkness. Though once, during a particularly harsh winter, the ground was too frozen. We had to... Well, perhaps some details are best left in the past.
And these midnight investigations of yours, were they not also a form of dialogue? Perhaps a conversation with mortality itself?
I had never thought of it that way. Yes, mortality was always present in that cold room. But honestly, I was focused on pursuing a different dialogue. Each cut was a question asked, each layer of flesh a response given. The body speaks, Socrates, if only we dare to listen.
And what did it tell you? Did these observations lead you to wisdom, or merely to more questions?
Both. That's the magnificent paradox of it all. I learned how muscles connect to bones like ropes and pulleys in my mechanical designs. I saw how the heart pumps blood, though I never understood its mechanism. The way it moves, it's like a divine machine.
And each discovery led to new questions?
Yes, like your method, but with a scalpel rather than words. As I documented what I found, new questions emerged with every line. Why does this muscle attach here and not there? How does the eye create vision? Why does the heart never tire?
Oh, intriguing. So this telescope, like your scalpel, like my questions, they're all tools for peeling away layers of ignorance?
Exactly. And each layer reveals both truth and mystery. The more I saw, the more questions arose. The human body, like the vast universe itself, holds infinite wonders. In fact, I often thought of the body as a microcosm of the universe itself.
A profound observation. But tell me this. You did more than merely observe. You created art as well as scientific studies. How do these pursuits relate?
Well, look at the telescope. Its beauty lies not just in its function, but in the harmony of its design. The same mathematical principles that make it work, make it pleasing to the eye. Art and science are not two paths, but one.
Go on.
You see, when I paint or draw, I'm not merely copying what I see. I'm trying to understand the underlying principles. The way light falls, the way shadows define form, the mathematical proportions that create beauty.
Mathematical proportions in beauty, you say. Now that's an intriguing claim. Are you suggesting there's a formula for what pleases the eye?
Yes. Take the divine proportion as an example, what some call the golden ratio. It appears everywhere in nature, in the spiral of shells, the arrangement of leaves, even in the human face. When I paint, I don't just use these proportions blindly. I understand why they work.
Even in the way this wine swirls. I notice you've studied the movement of water quite extensively.
Ah, yes. Water is fascinating. I would sit for hours studying streams, amazed by how water seems to have its own logic. Did you know that water behaves differently depending on what's in its path? The same principles apply whether you're painting a river or designing a dam.
Ah, so your art serves your science, and your science serves your art?
Exactly. When I dissected an arm, I wasn't just learning anatomy. I was learning how to paint muscles with perfect accuracy. When I studied birds, I wasn't just designing flying machines. I was learning how to capture the essence of flight in my sketches.
You know, this reminds me of the craftsmen I used to speak with in Athens. They too possessed a kind of wisdom, not just in knowing how to make things, but in understanding why they worked.
Without a doubt. The why is crucial. Anyone can copy what they see, but to truly create, you must understand. When I paint a smile, I'm not just painting lips and muscles. I'm capturing the mystery of human expression itself.
Ah, so when you study anatomy, you're not just learning where things are, but why they are and where they are.
Precisely. Everything in nature has a purpose, a reason. The muscles of the face are not arranged randomly. They work together in perfect harmony to create every expression we make. Understanding this helps me both as an artist and as a scientist.
Ah. I see you're still taking notes, even here in this timeless place.
Old habits, my friend. You question, I sketch. Speaking of which, the way these telescope lenses are arranged, it's not unlike the human eye, is it? Both are nature's instruments for observing reality, one given, one crafted.
And yet, like my fellow Athenians, we often see only what we expect to see, don't we?
That's why we need both art and science to help us see beyond our expectations. Art can reveal truth just as surely as dissection, though each speaks its own language of understanding.
This is one of your works?
Yes, La Gioconda.
La Gioconda. The paper says Mona Lisa.
Mona Lisa, is it? The passage of time has indeed woven a new name for my work. Though seeing her like this, the colors are not quite as I remember them. But the essence remains.
The essence? But isn't this merely an imitation of an imitation? If truth is our goal, why make pictures of things rather than study the things themselves?
Ah, but what if painting is not mere imitation, but a way of seeing deeper? You know, when I paint, I don't just copy what's before me. I study the subject so thoroughly that the painting reveals truths that the eye alone cannot see.
Tell me more about this process. How does one question with a brush?
Well, consider her hands. To paint them, I first had to understand their anatomy. How tendons connect to bone, how blood flows beneath the skin. I dissected dozens of hands, studied their mechanics. Only then could I capture their true essence.
But if you knew so much about hands, why not show all of it? The tendons, the bones, the blood vessels. You chose which details to include and which to omit. Isn't that a form of deception?
Ah, now we approach the heart of it. In my notebooks, I did show all those things. But in this portrait, like in your dialogues, the truth emerges through careful selection, just as you choose which questions to ask.
And which answers to pursue. I see the parallel, my friend. So you suggest that selection and omission might actually lead us closer to truth rather than further from it?
Precisely. Like your dialogues, they're not transcripts of actual conversations, are they? They're crafted to reveal philosophical truths.
Well, yes, though I never wrote them down myself.
No, but Plato did. And in choosing what to preserve, he revealed something true about both the ideas and the men discussing them, just as I do with my paintings.
Ah, like her smile in this portrait. Tell me, were you painting what you saw or what you understood?
Both and neither. You see, I spent years studying facial expressions. Did you know that a genuine smile involves not just the mouth but the eyes, the cheeks? Even the smallest wrinkles tell a story.
Like how the smallest contradictions in a person's arguments can reveal deeper truths?
Exactly. And just as you led your students to wisdom through careful questioning, I try to lead viewers to understanding through careful observation. Look at her eyes. How they seem to follow you.
Yes, I've noticed that. A clever trick of perspective?
More than that, it's about understanding how humans perceive, how we interpret visual information. You see, there's a reason my notebooks contain as many studies of optics as they do anatomy.
This reminds me of my conversations with the craftsmen of Athens. They at least understood their own craft. But you seem to have studied every craft: anatomy, optics, perspective.
And like you, the more I studied, the more I realized how much I didn't know. But isn't that the point? When I painted Lisa, I wasn't trying to create a perfect replica of her appearance. I was trying to capture something more elusive.
Just so. Like how my dialogues weren't meant to provide answers but to inspire questions?
Yes, and consider this. When I painted her, I used a technique called sfumato. It creates a haziness, a softness around the edges. Some critics say this makes the painting imperfect, unclear.
But perhaps, like my acknowledgement of ignorance, this very imperfection brings us closer to truth.
Just as your wisdom came from knowing what you didn't know, sometimes the truest representation comes from acknowledging what we cannot fully capture. The mystery becomes part of the truth.
Intriguing. So by deliberately making parts unclear, you guide them toward deeper contemplation?
Yes. We invite the viewer to complete the image themselves. Their mind fills in what the eyes cannot quite grasp. Is that not similar to how your questions led people to find their own answers?
Indeed. When everything is perfectly defined, the mind grows lazy. But in the spaces between certainty, doesn't the mind begin to search?
That's where understanding blooms, in the shadows between the known and unknown. Look at her expression. Is she truly smiling? The answer lies somewhere between yes and no, in that space of uncertainty that makes us think deeper.
Like a riddle that changes with each glance.
Exactly. And isn't that more true to life than a fixed expression? When we speak with someone, their face is constantly shifting, suggesting multiple thoughts at once.
So your sfumato is not merely a technique, but a philosophy made visible?
I suppose that's true. Just as your questions were not merely inquiries, but a method for revealing truth. Sometimes clarity comes through embracing uncertainty.
You know, in Athens, they called me wise because I knew I was not wise. And here you show us truth by showing us what cannot be fully shown.
Just as your wisdom came from knowing what you didn't know, sometimes the truest representation comes from acknowledging what we cannot fully capture. The mystery becomes part of the truth.
So, like my acknowledgement of ignorance, this very imperfection brings us closer to truth.
Yes, just as your questioning led people to insights they never would have found through direct answers. The art lies not in showing everything, but in showing just enough to guide the mind toward understanding.
And yet this version before us, it's not quite the same painting you created, is it? You mentioned the colors have changed.
Indeed. The blues have shifted. The flesh tones are cooler than I mixed them. Time has been creative with my work. And this reproduction, however skillful, captures the image but not the texture, not the way light plays across the actual surface.
So, which is the true Mona Lisa? The original hanging in some distant gallery, faded and cracked? This bright reproduction? Or perhaps the image that lives in your memory?
A profound question. When I painted her, I thought I was creating something permanent. But now, perhaps the true painting isn't any physical object at all.
Go on.
Consider this. Every person who looks at this image sees something different. Some see mystery. Others see sadness. Different viewers find contentment. Which of them is seeing the real Mona Lisa?
Ah, like how each of my students heard different truths in the same questions. The dialogue doesn't end with the speaker. It begins there.
Exactly. And here's what fascinates me. People see things in this painting that I never consciously put there. They find meanings I never intended. Is that a failure of my art, or is its greatest success?
What do you think? When your art speaks words you never taught it, what does that tell us?
Well, perhaps the painting is not complete until someone sees it. Like your dialogues, they weren't finished when you spoke them, but when your listeners understood them.
And each viewer completes it differently. This woman's smile has traveled through centuries, gathering new meanings like a stone gathering moss.
Yes, and each generation brings their own questions to her. In my time, they saw a merchant's wife. In yours, they might see the ideal of feminine wisdom. In this modern age, who knows what they see?
So the artwork becomes a kind of mirror, reflecting not just your vision, but the viewer's own soul.
Precisely. And that's why these copies, even imperfect ones, might not diminish art but multiply it. Each copy creates new conversations, new understandings.
Like how my words, filtered through Plato's pen, became something both mine and not mine. The ideas lived on, but transformed.
So I'd argue this faded reproduction, seen by countless modern eyes, is more alive than my original, locked away in some museum. Art without viewers is like
wisdom without students, dead knowledge waiting to be awakened?
Exactly. The painting needs the viewer to complete its purpose, just as your questions needed listeners to find their answers.
Then we are not creators so much as, what would you call it?
Collaborators. We begin the conversation, but we cannot control where it leads. And perhaps that's as it should be.
Ah, those sandals. From my days in the infantry.
Ah, the sandals of the soldier-philosopher. They walked between battlefields and the agora. What stories they must hold!
Indeed, they shaped me profoundly. These carried me through Potidaea and Dilium. You know, I once stood barefoot in the snow during a siege, these very sandals slung over my shoulder. The other soldiers thought me quite mad.
War always fascinated and unsettled me in an equal measure. But the deeper question always lingered. What does it reveal about us as humans? In the chaos of battle, do we see the best of ourselves or the worst?
You know, in battle, I fought as I lived, questioning everything. Why are we fighting? What makes a just war? What separates courage from foolishness?
And did you find answers in combat?
Some. I found that a philosophical disposition can be quite useful in battle. While others panicked, I could step back and observe, think clearly. Many said my calmness under fire helped prevent a rout from becoming a massacre. You see, Leonardo, war has a way of testing one's philosophies.
Oh, yes. You know, I had some involvement in war myself. In a period of my career, I felt the need to put painting aside and focused entirely on designing war machines. It wasn't easy at the beginning. Even on my first opportunity, when the Duke of Milan summoned me, I was thrilled. Finally, a chance to put my mechanical studies to use. Though imagine my frustration when rather than my war machines, I found myself painting a portrait of his mistress.
Ah, the trials of a genius. You sought to craft engines of war, but instead you were tasked with capturing the battle of the heart, arguably the deadlier battlefield.
You may have a point. Flattery is its own kind of warfare, and well, I played my part. But eventually, I did get to work on what I truly envisioned. Siege engines, giant crossbows, even an armored vehicle, like a covered wagon, but with scythes on its wheels. Brilliant designs. Though I do wonder how I'd feel if they had actually seen battle.
And if they had, would that trouble you?
Frankly, back in the day, I told myself it was necessary. That understanding how to destroy was part of understanding how things work. But later, when I served as military engineer for Cesare Borgia, seeing the brutality of his campaigns, it changed something in me.
It seems knowledge, once unleashed, does not ask how it will be used.
Did you ever feel that way? When your teachings led to unexpected consequences, did it make you question everything you thought you knew?
Well, at the Battle of Potidaea, I saved young Alcibiades' life. He was so brilliant, so beautiful, so full of promise, my most gifted student. Later, he would become one of Athens' most brilliant generals and one of her greatest traitors. He switched sides multiple times during the war, advising both Sparta and Persia against his own city. Sometimes I wonder if by saving him that day...
Yes, but I designed machines that could kill from a distance. No looking in the enemy's eyes, no philosophical debates about justice, just death at the press of a lever.
Yes, that's the danger of innovation. Once knowledge is released into the world, it cannot be controlled. Just as my words may have inspired both wisdom and ruin, your creations, born from a desire for progress, may lead to destruction or progress. The key is understanding the ripple effect.
I often wonder if, in the pursuit of understanding, I overlooked the consequences of my designs. Yes, they were meant to push the boundaries of knowledge, but who could foresee how they would be used? It's as if the very knowledge we create takes on a life of its own.
And yet, you believe knowledge itself is good?
I believe all knowledge leads to understanding. But now I wonder, is there knowledge that should remain hidden? You were condemned for corrupting the youth with questions. Would you have done the same if your questions could sink ships or level cities?
Don't they? My questions helped drive Alcibiades to excellence, but also to ambition. He used that ambition to bring war to Athens itself. Even words can be weapons, my friend.
Do you blame yourself for his actions?
No more than you should blame yourself for how others use your designs. But it raises an interesting question. What is our responsibility for the ripples our work creates in the world?
Well, the ripples we create can extend far beyond our intent. Perhaps our responsibility lies not just in what we make, but in understanding how it will echo through the world. But Socrates, I struggle with this. I designed those machines specifically for destruction. Unlike my paintings or flying machines, which sought to capture beauty or unlock the secrets of flight, my war engines served no other purpose than to kill more efficiently. How do I reconcile that with responsibility? When I drew those siege towers and giant crossbows, I wasn't pursuing knowledge for its own sake. I was crafting death.
No, Leonardo. Your studies of war machines led to understanding of mechanics, which led to devices that could lift great weights, move water, help build rather than destroy. Knowledge, like a sword, can defend as well as attack.
Well, These hands that drew war machines also drew La Gioconda. Sorry, the Mona Lisa. And sketched flying machines meant to lift humanity toward the heavens.
And these feet that marched to war also walked the streets of Athens seeking wisdom. Perhaps it's not about hiding knowledge, but about teaching wisdom alongside it.
The responsibility of the Creator extends beyond the creation itself.
Yes, it could be that the greatest innovation is not in the things we create, but in the wisdom with which we use them. Knowledge and power are not inherently dangerous. It is the lack of wisdom that makes them so. If we can teach wisdom, then we may become the masters of our creations rather than their slaves.
Knowledge must be handled with care, but perhaps wisdom can guide it to a better use. It is not enough to simply understand the world. We must understand how to act in it.
And act with an awareness of the consequences our actions may have. To guide, not just to create. It seems our time grows short.
Well, I guess even in a place beyond time, the clock still has its say, huh?
Even here, we can't avoid the final act. But what a conversation it's been.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to be summoned to the lounge with you, Socrates, the wisest of men.
And it's been a pleasure to know of you, Leonardo da Vinci, and to be in the company of such a mind.
Well, I can't say it's been a dull evening.
Not in the least. Perhaps we'll meet again, if our host is kind enough to summon us back to the lounge.
I hope so too.
One final and quick question then. What is the purpose of knowledge?
I used to think it was to understand God's creation, to unravel the mysteries of nature. Now, I wonder if knowledge without wisdom is like a weapon without conscience.
And what is wisdom?
Perhaps the understanding of when to seek knowledge and when to hold back? No, that's not quite it.
Could wisdom be the knowledge of our own ignorance?
Always leading us back to that, aren't you? But yes, maybe true wisdom is understanding how little we understand.
And yet you kept seeking, kept inventing, and kept painting.
Because the questions themselves are beautiful, aren't they? Even if we never reach the final answer.
Then perhaps that's the truest art of all. The art of asking better questions.
Thank you for listening to the Time Capsule Lounge. Back our passion project at patreon.com/Time Capsule Lounge and help us keep summoning the extraordinary for unexpected timeless talks. On the next episode of the Time Capsule Lounge, a methodical thinker and a world-traveling writer meet in a timeless debate. Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher who never left his hometown.
By eliminating the variables of everyday life, I created the perfect conditions for pure reason to operate.
And Mark Twain, the riverboat pilot who became a literary legend.
Some things you just have to feel. You develop what we pilots called the feel of the water.
As the lounge brings these minds together, they clash over truth and moral responsibility.
The most honest thing an artist can do is depict the world as it truly is.
I must disagree. The moral law cannot be suspended for artistic purposes.
And their fundamental differences about knowledge and experience become clear.
It is only through the organizing principles of the mind that experience becomes meaningful.
That's a mighty fancy way of saying you think too much, Professor.
Rivers of Reason. Immanuel Kant meets Mark Twain in a timeless conversation about truth, experience, and moral principles. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.